What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to SoCal Exploring, your number one stop for all things theme park related and haunted attraction related. And today I bring you Halloween Horror Nights 2019 Maze Rankings. So this one's going to be a good one. I'm going to be breaking down each and every maze and where it ranks on how good it was this year, because Halloween Horror Nights kicked off this past weekend and we attended twice, and I got a good feel of what I think about the mazes, and I think I have finally finalized my list. Now keep in mind, this could change throughout the year due to different stuff getting added to mazes, like different characters and such, or characters making their queues. But as of right now, I feel very strongly about this list, and I think that this list will relatively stay the same throughout the event as I go more times. But from my first two nights, I'm going to be breaking down the rankings of the different mazes and which I think are the best and which I think are the worst. And I think with this year, a lot of the general horror fans have a good gist of what the list is. Everyone kind of has the same list here and there, but I'm going to give my opinions. Keep in mind, these are just my opinions. If you have a different list, go ahead and comment it down below, because that'd be cool to see your guys' list and see the differences between everybody's list on what they like. But with that being said, let's hop right in to my HHN 2019 Hollywood Power Ranking. But before that, make sure to check us out on social media at SoCal Exploring Media on Instagram and at SoCal Exploring on Twitter, and click that subscribe button if you want to see more HHN related content with those bell notifications on. There are two Halloween Horror Nights vlogs up right now, one from fan preview night and one from the official open night, and there's also all the walkthroughs up on my channel as well. All of the walkthroughs except for Stranger Things, and I'll get into that right now as to why that is. Lastly, visit our website SoCalExploring.com for more detailed theme park updates and haunt attraction news. There were 9 total mazes this year, and my least favorite maze was Stranger Things, coming at number 9. Stranger Things was a huge disappointment this year. Last year it was very good, it was in my top 3, but this year it was such a disappointment. There was tons and tons of black walls. All the different sets that they had black backdrops behind them. The Mind Flayer didn't look that great, and this isn't just me being harsh, this is me being true. The Mind Flayer didn't look that great. The only cool part was really the underground part where you encounter the Demodogs, but even that, the Demodogs weren't as scary, as they are a lot more tinier puppets than what you'd see with the werewolf characters in like Trick or Treat last year, or if you go through Creepshow. The Demodogs just aren't that scary, and there's not that many scares in the maze at all. There's tons and tons and tons of black walls. You barely see any of the characters at all, and overall just the maze in general is not that good. If I had to pick a favorite part of my maze though, or this maze, it'd probably be the season 3 bonus scene, which is Hopper's cabin, and then you encounter the monster that you'd see in season 3 of Stranger Things. I think that part was really cool, and I think that puppet has great detail, but overall the maze just isn't good, and I really was hoping for this maze to be good, but it's just not good, everybody. It's really not. And for those of you who've been going for a while, it's Ash vs. Evil Dead level. It's not that great. I wouldn't recommend waiting more than an hour for it if you're a diehard Stranger Things fan, and if you want to go in it, then wait for it, but I highly wouldn't recommend waiting for it when it's 45 minutes plus or even 30 minutes plus. I know I said an hour, but that was kind of a stretch. I don't think it's that great of a maze. Stranger Things was not good. It was just a huge letdown compared to last year's maze. Number 8 goes to Rob Zombie's House of Thousand Corpses. Now the 2010 version was pretty good, and I really liked it. However, this year's version does not top 2010's version at all. This year, the murder ride is hands down the strongest part of the maze. You walk into the murder ride, and the whole section you see Captain Spaulding a lot, as well as a robot version of Dr. Satan, which is a live actor, and he plays off being like a robot very good. Props whoever that actor is, because Dr. Satan is really good, and I really like the fact that you see Captain Spaulding a lot through the maze. But House of Thousand Corpses, after you get out of the murder ride section, which is completely phenomenal, it just really doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, you go into the Firefly house and you see the different scenes with the baby Firefly and Otis, but you see Otis in a black wall scene, and then you see Otis in his satanic outfit again in another black wall scene, and then you go into the finale scene with Dr. Satan, which is good and all, but overall the maze isn't very strong. I think it's still a phenomenal maze. I still love it. Like I said, the murder ride is a great part, but after you get out of the murder ride, it's kind of eh. I do, however, like the tiny character on stilts as you walk into the Firefly house. I think that's really creative, and it gets a really good scare for those not expecting it. Number 7 goes to Ghostbusters. Now, I know this may surprise you guys a lot, but Ghostbusters overall, it was a good maze, but it's really low on my rankings, only due to the fact because of black walls again. You go into where you see Janine and everything in one of the Ghostbusters, and then you go into Black Walls where you see the 2016 remake monsters and everything. And then after that, the maze gets a little bit better, but overall, the Black Walls really killed it. Similar to Poltergeist last year, I think Poltergeist edges it a little bit. Overall, though, the scenes are very cool, but Ghostbusters isn't that scary of a maze at all. So pre-warning, if you're looking to be absolutely terrified in Ghostbusters, it's a more of a set-based maze. You don't get scared at all that much. And overall, just the Black Walls kind of kill it. I wish that they put more detail into it. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the HHN Orlando walkthroughs, but HHN Orlando did a great job at capturing the scenes, yet while trying to be scary at the same time. I think the Terror Dogs look really cool. We see 2 Terror Dogs in the maze, and they look really neat. But overall, the Black Walls kill it for this maze, but it's still a phenomenal maze. Hands down, it's a great maze. Like, the sets are cool, and being transformed into that movie of Ghostbusters, which is such a great movie, is phenomenal. My favorite scene in there, a lot of people would say the Stay Puft scene, but I personally like the Slimer scene. The Slimer scene is so cool. I think it makes me happy, and it's so beautiful when Venkman shoots his ray gun and really attacks Slimer like he did in the movie. I think it's really cool. I really enjoy that scene a lot. And then Stay Puft would be my favorite scene right after it. But Ghostbusters overall, I'd say it's about a B-rated maze. Number 6 goes to the Curse of Pandoras Box. A lot of people hated this. A lot of people hated this maze. A lot. And I mean a lot. And I don't understand why. Yes, there is a bunch of reused props, but it is a very beautiful maze. The only thing I would change about it is the storyline. There's really no storyline. There's nothing to do with Greek mythology in there as they described it. But other than that, very beautiful maze. I think the scares are very strong in there, and I think the sets in general look very beautiful, very vibrant. I enjoy the maze a lot, and I think that it shouldn't be getting the hate that it has been, or all the negative reviews that it has been, because I think that Curse of Pandoras Box was a very good maze, very strong maze. It's nothing like amazing, but it was a very, very strong maze. I really enjoy walking through it every time. I get good scares, and it's super fun to take pictures in there since everything's all vibrant and everything. The more that I think about it, a lot of people were saying it's basically a 3D maze, but I'm not too sure. I rewatched my walkthroughs, and I feel like to be a 3D maze, all of the walls would have to be vibrant and such. And mainly in Pandora's Box, it's just all the sets and everything that are vibrant. But hands down, the Curse of Pandora's Box is an underrated maze for me. I think that is a very phenomenal maze, and I think that I get plenty of good scares in there, especially the characters. They play their role very good. And one of my favorite scares in there is the Stilt Walker character, where you walk into a room with a bunch of vibrant skeletons that look like some of them are real, some of them are not, and then one jumps out at you and he's on stilts. It's absolutely terrifying. I really like the Curse of Pandora's Box though. Number 5 goes to Holidays in Hell, which is the other original maze. Holidays in Hell, I was kind of skeptical about it at first, but hands down they pulled it off very great. I think that it is a beautiful maze, and I think that the small mixture of dubstep and different water effects fits perfectly with the maze. They pulled off the different scenes really good. I think it's a very beautiful maze, and I think it's another underrated maze. It was very good. Like I said, I was very skeptical about it, but I really, really enjoyed it. I think that there wasn't that much dubstep, which I like, because in my opinion, blasting dubstep through a maze kind of ruins the maze experience. But as soon as a character would jump out in certain sections, there would be dubstep music, which I think fit very well. The scenes were pulled off exactly how Murdy and Chris Williams described them, which I really like. And oh my goodness, I love the fact that there's a UV mask scene in there. If you've ever been through Halloween 2, which was amazing in 2016, the finale scene, or one of the finale scenes, you walked into a room with a bunch of pumpkin heads, and you didn't know which ones were real. And this is the same that they do in the Halloween section of this maze, and I love it. It's beautiful, and it's absolutely terrifying. And the Christmas in Hell scare zone, it's great. I love seeing the Nutcracker Stilt Walker, and I love seeing the Father Time Stilt Walker. I think my favorite still, though, is Jack Frost. I love Jack Frost's character. He looks phenomenal. The Demon Santa looks terrifying, too. Demon Santa, man, I wish the Christmas section was a little bit longer than in the maze. However, they did have the scare zone, so I can see why they made the Christmas section a little bit smaller, but the Christmas section is just a tiny, tiny little room, which I wish was a little bit bigger, and then it transported you into the much larger scale Christmas scare zone. Number 4 goes to Universal Monsters Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. Now, a lot of people have this at their number 1. I don't really agree with that because a lot of it is very, very reused from the Universal Monster Maze, but there's a lot that's new in here. I really enjoy the Gypsy Camp scene, and that's what you start off with. You start off with the Gypsy Camp scene. You see the story of how Frank or the Wolfman became to be. You can see him transforming in the first room, and then you get a good scare, and I think that it's phenomenal. And seeing the Frankenstein castle and everything, it looks so good. I especially love the frozen catacomb scene, but there's parts in there where I feel like you really didn't get that great of scares, and I don't know, it just, to me, it's not my number one maze. I hands down love the maze. It's such a beautiful maze. It's so good. But to me, Universal Monsters was very power heavy, and I definitely knew that it was my number one maze, hands down. Like, it was like the fourth maze I walked through that night, and I knew already that it was going to be my number one. But with this one, it just didn't have that firepower that I wanted. It still, amazing maze, like I said, but it wasn't Universal Monsters level, and that is why it's my number 4, because ranking to the different mazes that I'm going to talk about right now, I feel like this was a little bit below them. But once we get to, keep in mind, once we get to these top 4 mazes, it was really hard to decide on which ones I should place in certain areas. But I feel like with the top 4, a lot of people have different opinions on what their favorite mazes are. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, though, belonged at my number 4 spot at least. Number 3 goes to Jordan Peele's Us. Jordan Peele's Us, wow. I mean, I was so surprised. I did not think this maze was going to be good. They started on the last minute, and oh my goodness, I get lots of scares in there. There's scares coming from each side. They pulled off their friend's house very good. They pulled off the scenes very good with the finale scene in the classroom, and young Adelaide in the beginning, and Adelaide in the living room with a red walking back and forth. I honestly, this maze is so good. Like, the scenes are pulled off perfectly, and another plus to it is we get to see 2 facades. One of the past young Adelaide Santa Cruz Boardwalk facade, and then we see one of the present day Merlin's Forest as we get to the end of the maze. And oh my goodness, like, this maze hands down has all the scenes, has all the scares. It's such a great maze. I love it. Jordan Peele's Us was definitely a surprise, and I'm so happy that it came out very good. Very minor black walls too. There's not that many black walls. However, the maze is very, very dark. I wish it was a little bit lighter just so we can see the sets in more of a aesthetic way, but hands down, Jordan Peele's Us, such a good, and that's why it belongs in my top 3 at number 3. Number 2 goes to Creepshow. Now, Creepshow was my most anticipated, and it did not disappoint. Hands down, Creepshow, all the different stories and everything that they put into this maze, like, it just made the maze work. My favorite scene is probably, I feel like it has to be Father's Day. I feel like Father's Day, to me, is my favorite scene. And then seeing the creep transitioning to the different stories and him pulling away the curtain, they used a lot of those this year where they had different screens that you pulled away and the character would come out and scare you. I like those a lot better as opposed to black wall scares where they just kind of pop out of black walls. Seeing the creep was definitely my favorite part of the maze, though. Father's Day is my favorite section of the maze, but seeing the creep himself, we saw him like 6 to 7 times, and it was insane. Like, his scares are good, his mask looks very good, and overall this maze just had plenty and plenty of content to work with, which I speculated on, and I'm so happy that it did not disappoint me. I really love Creepshow, and there's a smell in there. The gray matter scene, and when you go into the bathroom, there's a more vomity smell. It kind of reminds me of The Exorcist, but you'll have to go through the maze yourself if you haven't already to get that smell, and I like that because we haven't had smells in a while at HHN. I know there wasn't that many last year. In 2017, there wasn't either. 2016 was the last year that I could really remember them using smells a lot in maze. So it was nice to, even though it was a disgusting smell, it was nice to see that they're incorporating smells into mazes. And overall, Creepshow, just a phenomenal maze. I really wouldn't change much about it at all. It's so good. I think that the Battle Wolf Down section at the very end isn't that really good. I mean, it's okay, but it's not very strong. And I think that would, if that section was amazing, I think that would automatically put it at my number 1. But let's get right into my number 1. And I think you guys all know what this is, as a lot of people's are. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Wow, a surprise. I am so happy this maze came out beautiful. I mean, just everything about it makes me so happy. I love the movie. I am currently rocking the Clownzilla shirt right now from HHN, and I just love it. It's so good. There's nothing that I can really describe on how good it is. It features everything that I would want to be featured in the maze. It is such an amazing maze. Seeing the clowns jump out at you and scare you, it's so cool. I love being scared by these cosmic terrifying clowns, seeing the scenes with Officer Mooney in it, seeing the different guns that they use, the shadow puppet scene. Wow, that shadow puppet scene is huge and I love it. The invisible car scare at the end. I wish they would have done Clownzilla a little bit bigger, but I get it, it's in the Mummy queue. They really couldn't do much, so instead of just a head puppet. But seeing the different clowns come out and scare you, they have great scares, and there's some I didn't even know where they're at, and it smells like cotton candy. I love it. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, hands down my favorite maze of Halloween Horror Nights, Hollywood 2019. It is such a great maze, and the best part about it is the wait times are never that long for this maze, and I don't know why. It's a really good maze, so I highly recommend going through Killer Clowns from Outer Space first, because guys, you will not be disappointed. I love this maze so much, so good. It just has everything from the movie. The only part that I really wish I would have seen is the parade part, where the clowns are kind of parading through the city with all the cotton candy cocoons. Although, like, it's another one of those things where they don't have that much space, so really, they couldn't really do anything. However, I am happy that we got to see tons and tons of different scenes in there, and tons of scares in there. Way more than I expected. Way more clown scares than I expected. Overall, like I said, favorite maze. It's so amazing. That does it for my HHN 2019 Hollywood Maze rankings. Let me know your guys' down below. Like I said, these are just my opinions. I feel very strongly about this list, and I don't think that it will change throughout the year at all. I think it's a good list, and I hands down think that HHN 2019 is a phenomenal year. Better than 2018, better than 2017. On the level, kind of a 2016. Still doesn't top it, but hands down, better than 2018 and 2017. 2019 is a very, very strong year, and I highly recommend you guys go check out Halloween Horror Nights this year. So if you want to purchase tickets, visit www.halloweenhorrornights.com. Big shout out to everyone at Universal Studios and Halloween Horror Nights involved in the event and creating this event and bringing it to life for the fans. Thank you for bringing such a great year to the fans, and I can't wait to be back out there in a couple weeks to experience it again. Like I said, all the walkthroughs are on my channel, as well as 2 vlogs from both fan preview night and official opening night. Check us out on social media at SoCal Exploring Media on Instagram and at SoCal Exploring on Twitter, and click that subscribe button if you want to see more HHN related content with those bell notifications on. Lastly, visit our website SoCalExploring.com for more detailed theme park updates and haunt attraction news. I have been Scott. You have been watching SoCal Exploring. Positivity is key. Haunt season is just getting started. I promise you guys more haunt related content coming soon. Stay spooky, everybody, and most importantly, remember to keep exploring. Peace.